We are going live right now. Hey, everybody. Oh, no. Sorry. 6 seconds. 11 seconds.
You said,
are we live? Oh,
This is a reminder.
sorry.
The Lord's
Hey,
Prayer.
everybody. This is William Rochelle, but you can call me Bill.
This is a reminder. The Lord's Prayer.
And someone's Lord's Prayer is going off.
That's me every day, 3 o'clock.
There you go. But you said you weren't super religious.
I'm not.
This is a spinoff of UBU Live, and it's called Cousin Talk. It was created last week for the first time between me and my cousin Bill Scott. He will probably be on most of the episodes. However, education is very big in our family, and his son Ryan is on a university tour today. So he is doing what a father should be doing and making sure that his son sees every college that he wants. Yeah. We already think we know which college he's going to choose, but those options are still out there. Okay. So I would like to introduce you guys to my cousin family. And I'm going to start with, let's see, the grumpy one, Nick.
I can be a little bit grumpy at times, that's for sure.
I'm going to tell you about yourself, and I think this is very interesting. So Nick is my cousin. He's about, so I'm 40, so Nick's about 30 years older than me.
More than that.
40?
30 years older than you. Nobody's listening. Keep talking.
I can tell you ages now. Okay.
You won't. No, you won't.
Okay.
So I was just saying, I remember as a kid, Nick's picture in his uniform being over the fireplace mantle at Mary Jane's house. That's his mom. And Nick and I became closer as I became more of an adult. And he actually, because they lived in Springfield, Illinois, he actually, at that point in my life, because we all have different stages, right? He was my idol. Like, he was repairing homes. He took me to another house that he had bought that he was renovating. He was making his own IPAs. He had me for dinner where he had actually shot his own quail, and his wife made it for us for dinner. I'd never had it before. I think it was quail. It might have been pigeon. But either way, it was just a very interesting life. And one of the things, shut up, Debbie. One of the things I want to say is cousins are so interesting because no matter where we meet, when we meet, whether it's at a family reunion or weddings and funerals now for some of us, there's a thread that goes through that you feel like an instant connection with that person. Even if you haven't met them before, or even if you don't speak every day, there's a familiarity, someone say the word for it, familiarity to that relationship. And so then we'll go to Tony. Tony and I met when I was more of a teenager. I think you and Lisa came to LA, is that right?
Yeah, I was 15. So I don't know if you were a teenager, but
all right, I might have been 10.
At that.
So if you were 15, I was 10. So
right.
Yeah, and we just toured LA, and we had a really, really great time. I would love well, okay, we'll talk about why it was crazy later. I'd love to get Lisa on one day too.
Right.
How's she doing?
She's doing well. She's doing well. I actually texted this morning. We're actually going to talk a little bit later tonight. So, yeah, and I told her about this, and I was like, I said, you'll probably be next. Like,
I was going to ask you about that.
Get her and CJ on here. So.
Oh yeah.
Who's CJ?
Christian.
The-
Remember,
Christian.
you were like, I can't call you CJ. It sounds like a child. I need to call you Christian.
Really?
Or
Okay,
you
so-
called him Chris. You started calling him Chris.
Oh,
on our
okay.
trip.
So Jimmy Scott's brother, my son.
No, son, oldest son.
Yeah.
Or son. I would. Are you in
No.
contact with him?
What's that?
Are you in contact with him?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to have him on because I've always wondered because he
But you
lives in
got-
LA too.
Now you got to remember,
Yeah.
his mother and Jimmy are brother and sister.
Yeah.
So CJ,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. CJ and him
Yeah.
are first cousins.
So he's my first cousin. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to get Chris on because we both lived in LA and we would occasionally, not a lot, but occasionally hang out because that was my mom's only family in Los Angeles.
Right.
So that would be good. And then we have Debbie, who is now crooked.
I know what happened. I didn't. What did you do?
I didn't do anything. Maybe you could fix that.
How do I correct it?
I
You
don't know
did
what you
something
did,
with your arrow.
Do what? What arrow?
I believe it's an arrow that you hit that makes that screen move like that. You can do like a 180 with it,
What is it?
360.
Okay, Nick.
Because you just did it not too long ago.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, you did. So did you get a chance to watch the Debbie, the one with me and Bill Scott?
I got to, not all of it. I got to listen to some of it.
Okay. So if you listen to some of it, you realize that we went pretty deep into our,
I don't like being crooked like this.
okay. So Nick, we'll talk to you while Debbie talks to herself.
She needs to straighten herself out anyway.
Let me move. Hey.
She needs to straighten herself out. All right. So Nick, the last time we talked, you had you were she's gone now. You were living in Springfield, and your kids were young. Now your kids are grown. You're a grandfather of how many?
5.
5. Your daughter just got married recently?
Yeah, Aaron did.
Okay. Good. All right. And so how did you end up in Collins? And what is Collins?
Collinsville?
Yeah.
We ended up there because my wife's mother got sick and her sister was down here. And so when they moved her mother down here, Tony and her mother didn't want to be separated from her mother. So she wanted to help out her sister too. So we just came down there.
Okay. All right. Debbie, people are commenting on you, telling us that you're making them seasick.
I didn't do that. That's not me.
Debbie, you took my place. How'd you do that?
I didn't do that.
So
You moving all around.
what is Colin? I mean,
Collinsville.
Collinsville. It's a suburb
Compared to-
outside of St. Louis, basically. It's called the Metro
Okay.
East area.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All
It's
right.
in
So
Illinois. All these
Okay.
little towns around St. Louis.
okay. So how far are you from St. Louis?
I'd say by car, once you hit the road, 12 minutes.
Okay. All right. So you have the best. You have a small town life, but you can go into the city anytime you want.
Yes,
Got it.
most definitely.
How's life been treating you?
Me?
Good, bad, ugly? Yeah.
Fine. I just do what grandparents do, what my daughters need,
Okay.
with
That
the
sounds
kids
amazing.
and stuff. That's about it. I do fishing occasionally still, but not a lot. But I've got a good place to go. See, Dad, he's down here with us now. He's in a home for because he's got dementia, so he's in a home for retirement home, and we go visit him. He's in Granite City, which is another part in the Metro East, another little town.
So Uncle Nick is with you?
He's down here. He's not with us. That couldn't
Yeah,
happen.
yeah. No. I mean, but basically in the same city.
He's in the air.
Right. Yeah.
That's good. Is that why Courtney moved down there, or for other reasons?
I think Courtney probably came down here to be close to Dad, and all her nieces and nephews are here too. All
Yeah,
her nephews and two nieces are here, so that's
good,
probably why.
good. And Tony must be a saint. She's been married to you for how long?
I think it's 43 years now.
God
Good
bless her.
Lord.
43 years. Yes.
God bless her.
We
That
need
must
to
have
give
been a
her-
wild ride.
we
I'm
definitely
gonna
need to give her roses. Oh,
yeah. We should all send her a fruit basket or something.
Please do, so I can have some to eat.
oh, come on now. Come on.
And Debbie,
Yes,
you've
sir.
been all around the world. So
No.
different from a lot of our family in Springfield. You went from Springfield, I think, to Chicago, to Cleveland, to Phoenix, to Cincinnati, to Atlanta.
You got it all wrong.
Okay.
Straighten him out,
I
Debbie.
know you're going to correct
You
me.
got it
Yeah.
all wrong.
Straighten him out.
Yeah, really. Quick synopsis of my life. Born in Chicago, spent a minute in Mound City, Illinois, grew up in Springfield, moved to Cincinnati, and from Cincinnati I moved back to Springfield to take care of family. And now I am living what they call Atlanta, but I'm actually outside in a suburb outside of Atlanta.
Buckhead?
No, close
Oh.
to Stone Mountain.
Okay.
Okay.
Tony's got a niece in Atlanta, right?
No,
And her children and her husband, they're in Atlanta.
no, I'm finding out that I have family of all sorts in Atlanta. I've got family on my mother's side that live in Atlanta. In fact, one is about 10 minutes from me. We didn't even know.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm finding out. He actually lives in Stone Mountain. And,
Tony's older sister that passed away of cancer, Billy Margaret, it's her daughter.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I knew Billy Margaret. I didn't know her kids though.
Yeah, it's her daughter. It's down there.
Okay. But that's,
So I think Debbie is the star of this show because she's getting the most comments.
no, I'm held. Oh. Who is this? Who's
I don't know.
Dunner? Where you see? Who is this Kenneth Dunner?
I have 30,000 followers on LinkedIn.
Oh, do you really?
Okay,
What are you doing? What are you doing, Debbie?
Oh,
What are you doing?
I did it again, didn't I? There was something came
Damn,
up.
Debbie, you can't stay straight.
I never could.
That can have multiple meanings, Tony. Be careful.
Okay, let me correct it. I'll be right back.
Only you, Billy.
So Tony,
Yeah.
Tony, my man,
Yes, sir.
where did you grow up?
Springfield.
You grew up in Springfield?
Born and raised, grew up in Springfield. Yes, sir. Until I graduated from college and went to first 2 years of college. I went to Southwest Missouri State in Springfield, Missouri. So going from like one Springfield to another.
To another Springfield, yeah. It's pretty good.
Yeah. It's like something I thought I would never do because I was trying to get out of the one Springfield.
Right.
So, I was there for 2 years and then I transferred from there to Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville, and did my undergrad and graduate work there in history. And then I ended up getting an opportunity to work at Central State, which is HBCU in Ohio. And that was like in 97 when I was finishing up my grad program. And worked at Central State for about 4 years, left Central, moved to Columbus, Ohio to work for the Ohio Department of Higher Education and was there for about 22 years. And then, so just been in Columbus for that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you know that my brother went to Edwardsville?
I do know that. He and I, we were having a conversation because, he was the historian.
Yeah.
In the family doing the research, and I'm a historian, so I started to do some research, and we were in communication right before he passed. Actually, I had talked to him maybe like a week or two before he had passed away, and we were talking about doing more with our family's history. And so I've done some work. I just, with my job, I didn't have, I haven't been able to get back to it.
I would love to know what you discovered, Debbie. Every single comment on here is about something you have said.
Oh, you're kidding me. Do I need
no,
to...
you can no, just look down.
I don't know what I'm looking at. I don't want to touch anything because I don't want to lose it again.
You can't. You guys can't see the messages on the screen.
No.
What? Oh, you can't.
No.
Oh, okay. So Jeremy Burdick said, "Who is this Kenneth Dunner anyway?"
Yeah, who is Kenneth Dunner?
It's someone who's watching out there.
Oh,
this is live.
Okay. That's the question I wanted to ask you, because my adopted family here wanted to know if they could join, if they could watch it while we're on it. I didn't know, and I didn't know.
They can watch it and they can join. So if you want to on
your
phone, you don't want them to join. Okay. Okay. They can watch it. I'll send you a YouTube link that you can text to them if you want me to do that now.
Yes.
Okay. Tony, take it over while I get her the YouTube link.
take what over? Like,
yeah.
Just keep talking.
Finish the story. So yeah. So like I said, I've been here in Columbus, Ohio. Got married, met my wife. Actually, we were in graduate school when I met her. I was still at SIU. Edwardsville, was advising because I was in a graduate fellowship program in student affairs, and was advising some students in the MPHC. And we took them to Indianapolis for a conference, and she was an advisor in graduate school doing a graduate fellowship at Ohio State. And she took her students to the conference. And so she's an AKA, I'm an Alpha. And while we were at the conference, our students were, we were hanging out with our students, and we all came together at one point in time, and everybody was talking to each other. And I asked her, I was like, I said, so are you the president of your chapter? And she looked at me and was like, no. She said, I'm an advisor, and I was like, oh, so am I. And so we were like the youngest advisors at the conference. And so, after that, just kind of, we continued to talk throughout the rest of the conference, and then kept in contact afterwards. And I ended up getting an opportunity in Ohio, because I didn't think I was looking at like going to DC, possibly LA, because CJ was out there, and also looking at like Chicago, which I didn't want to go to Chicago. No offense to my Chicago family, but it's too cold in Chicago. So I was like, I don't want to go to Chicago. But I ended up getting this opportunity at Central State, which, she was already in Ohio. And so, rest is history from there. We ended up getting married in 2001.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Any kids?
Yeah, just one. So we had a son, 2007.
Oh, yeah.
His name is Grant.
He is doing awesome. Grant is awesome.
His name is Grant. He's a junior in high school, goes to a school called Columbus Academy, which is a private school, doing really well there. And we're just now doing like college visits. He's trying to think about where he wants to go. And so we've been looking at HBCUs. So we've been trying to steer him in that direction, just from a cultural,
I think it's important right now.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And so we've been looking at, like, right now on his list, his top 3 would be like Howard, Morehouse, and FAMU. And so, we're going to look at some Ohio schools as well. Maybe Cincinnati is what we talked about. But really, he's just more focused on those schools, and he wants to go into medicine. So he wants to be a plastic surgeon.
What about Muhammad down in Tennessee? Have you considered?
Oh, that? Yeah. We went to. He visited Tennessee State.
Okay.
And at Tennessee State, they have this. full ride program. Yeah, Meharry.
Meharry, yeah.
Right. So they have like Tennessee State has this program where if you have a certain GPA and some other qualifications that you can get a full ride, and it's connected to Meharry as well as Vanderbilt.
Okay.
And so that had been like an option on his list, but I think looking at I think when we went to Howard, so we went to Howard like last month, and that was his first visit there, and we had been trying to get there for a while, and he really enjoyed it. We enjoyed it, and they have a medical hospital like right there, like down the street from the campus, and they were saying how the students are always over there, and so of course he's going to be pre-med and focused on biology, so he wants to major in biology. And make it from there. So yeah,
that's
being
phenomenal.
there for a long time.
and any of those choices are great. I happen to love DC, but if I would have gone, I think I would have gone to if I would have gone to HBCU. I think during my day I would have gone to Morehouse.
And I'd have gone to Spelman. I wanted to go to
But
Spelman.
yeah,
Did you?
yeah, but that I think a lot of that had to do with the Cosby Show.
Yeah,
because it was kind of created out of like that Morehouse Spelman type of energy.
right.
But as I became more exposed, I like the vibe of DC, period.
Okay.
Which we're going to go into a topic that, and no one has to comment, right? I'm just going to bring up topics and you guys can say, I'm not going to touch this or I am going to touch it. You work for the Department of Education?
The Ohio Department of Higher Education. I did.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about the defunding of the Department of Education by this administration? Number one, hold on. It's going to be a three-part question. Number two, the reason why I said it's super important that your son, that we as a community choose HBCUs. How do you feel about this administration removing all Black history from every single foundational book that we have? And even Nick in the Navy, they have removed, in the Navy, they just removed Maya Angelou's books and the book of women in the Holocaust and other books that talk about minorities and the challenges and the successes that we've had to overcome.
Yeah.
So let me choose first. I'm going to ask Nick this question. Because you have served this country, is this the same country that you fought to defend, in your opinion, right now?
Oh, no. We've got a ton of bad actors in power. And until they leave, it's probably not going to get any better.
Do you think that we'll be able to survive? Because they're dismantling every governmental institution that oversees the administration piece by piece.
Yeah, I think the reason they do that, or some of the reasons being, I can't say every reason, but when the administration changes again and you put a Democrat in there, he's going to have to revitalize these institutions again. And since they're tearing them down so fast, it's going to take a little bit longer to put them back together again. So it's going to tie up the administration's hand.
So, Nick,
I think it's calculated.
Oh hell yeah, it's calculated. I mean, and I think people underestimated him because this is moving so fast.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't. No.
You don't think so?
No.
So
they've always wanted to do that to Black people anyway. They've done it the whole existence of African Americans and other minorities. But speaking of us, because it's us, they've done it since we came here in the 1600s. They did it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's what they do. They separate, they divide, and they conquer. And that's all they control.
Deborah, you need to show up more often to straighten up William Rochelle.
He has no idea. Because I done changed every one of y'all's diapers. My honest opinion about this situation, first of all, I'm an old history buff. If you look at history, history constantly repeats itself. And Bill, you and I had this conversation briefly. Yeah, I've been through this before.
Yeah.
Been through this before. But to begin with, this is a backlash of having the first Black president. And
I 100% agree. And to add to that, I think that there was a fear that we have a Black president and then we have a woman president, and that couldn't happen back to back.
Yes.
That was not going to be allowed back to back. So that's why I think Hillary lost and Kamala lost.
Trump got in the first time because of Obama. He got in the second time because Kamala, not only was she a woman of color, but she was a woman. So basically, as one of our cousins calls them, your European people in this country are fearful of moving control and power. So they figured anything in there that was of their descent would be better than having a person of color and a woman. Okay.
We know that's not true, though.
Well, we know that. We know that they're getting ready to experience it. In one aspect, I'm almost grateful that it happened because they are the ones that are getting affected more than we are.
Right, because there are more of them.
Well, no, they didn't think it would affect them. They thought it only would affect people of color.
Yeah, it's all good as long as it's not happening to me. I get it.
Cutting out all these jobs, it was their jobs. When they started cutting all of these fundings of different departments and stuff, that was them. You only let a few of us in the beginning, so it's not gonna. Am I right? I mean, seriously, we only had a token few in anyway. Yes, we started getting more and more, and that's why they're scared. That's why they're scared. But I'm kind of glad. I don't like it. I didn't want it, but now they're getting a taste of their own medicine.
Is that so? Explain the. And then we're going to go to you, Tony, because the question really was for you. So remember what the question was, because I forgot it because I'm old. Explain, Debbie, the movement that Black women are tired. Do you understand that part where Black women have said, look, we tried to tell y'all, we tried to save y'all, and now we're going to step back for a second and let you guys take the reign.
There you go.
If you really look at the history of people of color in this country, it has depended a lot on the women of this country.
It has.
We were the backbone of
the
family.
I'm trying to make this clean, but
no, for you. Just talk.
You know the saying where they said, you don't want me to drink your water, but you took my milk.
No, but I understand it. I understand what that means.
So we built this country. Right. This country was built on us being strong and keeping. I mean, even our Black men, especially. We know you guys have been targeted since you've been here because you are strong people. You come from kings. You come from ruling countries, and they can't have strong people regardless. They can't have strong. And we as women, we had to keep you uplifted, keep you going. Right. We had to not only take care of you, but we had to take care of their family.
Right.
We had to take care of their family. And it's just like the last election, you know, if it wasn't for the women getting out here doing the legwork, you wouldn't have a lot that you have today. This is why I have trouble with a lot of the younger generation, and I'm sounding like the old person that I am. But hey, this is what happens when you get old. You can look back. A lot of things that you have are due to what we went through.
Right.
A
Right.
lot of things that you can do now, we couldn't do, but because of the fight that we gave, you now have a life that we only dreamed of. I came from the generation when you couldn't walk into just any restaurant that you wanted to. I came.
And people don't realize how young the civil rights
Yes.
movement is.
Yes, yes. They don't realize that you haven't had this privilege that long.
Yeah. And now they're stripping it
I
away.
lived through that. I lived through the last part of the civil rights movement because the civil
People are
rights.
calling you wise, Debbie.
No, I'm just been through a lot, and I ain't gonna tell y'all. But it's and another thing. I don't. I'm gonna let Tony get into this because, but Bill, this is something that I think would be a good topic. Is the churches nowadays the role
Well,
of the church?
it depends on which church you're talking about, because the minute that I'm not gonna, I mean, no one yell at me, but I have chosen to have my own relationship with God. It's hard for me to follow a church that thinks that Donald Trump is a savior, so, or sent from Christ.
Oh, that's not
I'm not talking about
Well, that's
that.
not all the
that's
church.
not a church. That's really not a church.
Well, or the Christian community. He and I know that it's
That's not a Christian community.
I
They
know it's
think
not
they are,
ours.
but they think
I know it's not ours. Okay, so I get that. It's not, you know, the first. It's not FAME, right? The first
Right.
African Methodist Episcopal. But I am going to have to kick Debbie off. Deborah is the star of the show today. No, she ain't.
Let her shine. Come on, Billy, let her shine.
hey, Bill, and they don't know I'm being nice and I'm being quiet.
Right? I'm not going to tell you what Nick said about you yesterday. I'll tell you that off the air.
But Nikki can't say nothing because
I didn't say nothing about you yesterday.
Nikki,
Billy's just starting some shit. That's all.
no, Nikki can't say nothing because I don't, like I said, I can't change his drawers, okay? So ain't nothing you can
But
say.
you changed Martin Luther King's drawers too, but that's okay.
Just about.
Tony.
Just about.
So going back to what Debbie said, just to clarify, you can't drink from our water, but you can drink our milk.
Yeah.
Is the fact that Black people could not use the same water fountains, but they could be wet nurses for babies.
Right.
So a lot of times the Black woman was breastfeeding the white child, but we can't drink out of your water fountain.
Right. And that goes back to even the slavery, right? So, you know, that had been going on since slavery. So then after slavery, you look at the Black woman who, you know, was in that situation, in that same position, you know, but still, you know, taking care of the white family, but then having to go home and take care of her family, you know, as well. And so, just that, you know, the strength and the resiliency of a black woman, you know, it's just incredible. You know, just thinking about history in general and what was being said about just the white backlash. And so that's been, you know, as Debbie was saying, that, you know, that's just been a part of what has occurred throughout our history, you know, like history repeating itself, you know, and when you say that, it's not so much always like the same thing happening, you know, in the same type of scenario or situation, but it's patterns. So there's specific patterns that repeat themselves in history. And I could see it in the work that I did on the Springfield, Illinois race riot of 1908. So, I have some published work on the riot. And of course, because I'm from Springfield, and that's why, I had a desire to write about it. And that was a part of my graduate study work, that I did. And there's always been a white backlash. So going back to, you think about, slavery, Lincoln freeing the slaves and the amendments that were passed, in order to keep us out of slavery. And then what happened right after that, was the rise of the Ku Klux Klan.
Right.
And so it was like, okay, well, with the rise of the Ku Klux Klan, let's have Reconstruction. So Reconstruction takes place. So what happens right after Reconstruction? Now you have Jim Crow. So, at every move of any Black progress in the history of this country, there's always been a white backlash after that.
Yes.
So like
Hey, Tony,
yes.
have you ever read the book, The Invention of the White Race?
I have.
What do you think about that book?
I enjoyed it.
I thought it was great.
Yeah. I read it in actually I was was I in grad school? No, I was in undergrad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to speak on that, Nick or Tony? I've never read it.
Well, basically, what it starts as is when the slaves started coming over here, they just weren't regular, grab them up. They grab builders, they grab people that knew how to plant.
Right.
That's what the colonists wanted when they came over here, and they would work together in the same area with the Irish for the most part, because England had laws against the Irish, and they call them the Hibernicus, the unfree. And so the Black slaves and the white people that worked together, they cohabitated, okay, until they needed more and more. So they would press them, things would get harder on them, until the Blacks and the whites united and started revolting like they did down in South America and around the islands, revolted against their masters. Okay. So once that happened, and then the white man said, okay, we got to stop this. So what they did, they gave their white counterparts the privileges to come into the shops, to walk on the sidewalks where they weren't allowed to before, based on the color of their skin. So prior to that time, that was in the 1600s, there was no thing as white people. That's where it came from.
Right.
So what you're saying is that the Irish were basically the same as the slave at a certain point.
Yes.
They
were enslaved. They were enslaved, just like
indentured servitude.
No,
Right.
It was really like slavery.
They were enslaved. And
they were enslaved, but they could buy out. They could get out of slavery, whereas they took blacks and said, "No, you've got to stay here."
And it was because of the color. And a quick side note of that: if you want to know why a lot of blacks have red hair, it's because of the intermixing of the Irish and the blacks at that time.
Right.
Because we were both enslaved.
Yeah, the other thing about that was the Pope at the time, I can't remember, I think it was Pius or something, can't remember. He wrote bulls here, and because the Congress, they wanted them to speak on how the Pope thought about slavery in the U.S. And he told them, he said, no, slavery's bad, it's got to stop. But the bishops, the white bishops, and that's how come, although I'm Catholic, that's how come there's no a lot of black nuns or a lot of black priests that are from America, is because they went to Congress and said, the Pope said he was against the expansion of slavery. He wasn't against slavery, right? So they misrepresented what he said.
Okay, that's very interesting. Tony, I think my question to you was the defunding of education and then the removal of our history.
Right. Well,
did you hear that they're taking from in DC, from the African American Museum, they're taking anything about slavery out of it? How the hell are you going to remove it?
They're trying to
Yeah.
defund the museum itself. They're trying to get rid of the museum.
I could see that. I
But they
I
don't
didn't know that was
understand.
happening. That must have been recent. We were, like I said, when
Yeah.
we were in DC a month ago, we were just there. We went
That's
to the
about when
museum.
it started, Tony. That's about when it started.
Right.
And
Yeah, about a week ago.
the leader
Wow.
of the African American Museum told them they can defund us if they want to because we don't need
We'll
you.
pay for it.
Yeah, because the majority of the funding of that museum is by donation, and
Right.
we are the donors. Okay,
Yeah.
they can take away their money. We have
Yeah.
people who can step up and meet that.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Because the
we
federal
do.
funding already
Come on
that
now.
supported it, supported the building of it. Wasn't like it wasn't complete. Right. So
Yeah.
there was donors,
Yeah.
like Black entertainers that
Yes.
gave, millions.
Athletes and stuff.
Yeah,
People who are
absolutely.
making money.
Right.
We have people who have money in this country. It's
Right.
And they're not just entertainers, and they're not just
no. You're right.
basketball stars,
No.
We
right?
have entrepreneurs. We have
And
people
Right.
who are in these top jobs of these businesses. It's not publicized. They don't want you to know. And this is another thing that needs to be. We need to celebrate people within our community, other than the athletes, the entertainers, and the actors, so that people know that there is light outside. You don't have to be a pro ball.
Right.
You don't have to get up
That
there on
doesn't
the
have to be
stage.
your route.
Right. There is other ways of when I'm here in Atlanta, I just have to say this. I feel so good here because
Right. It's a Black city.
well, you walk around and you see these homes and these businesses and stuff. These are people of color. Back in the day, Chicago used to be like that. Chicago used to be like that. You could walk in. When we would go to Chicago, we go up there. I didn't see Caucasian people. Southside was basically black-owned businesses, black banks. We ain't gonna go to what it's now, but here, I feel so comfortable here. And even though there's a lot of mixture here in this area,
Which is fine.
they work together. They
Yeah.
work together. And this is what this country should be, is what they have here in Atlanta. People work together for the betterment of their community. They don't care what color you are. As long as you're keeping this community at
Alive.
the level it should be, then okay, we'll take you. We'll do whatever we want to. And this comes from people getting that education.
Right. Which, let's go back to Tony, because I've been waiting for him to answer for a while. So Debbie, I'm gonna put you on mute for a
Was
minute.
that a good segue?
No,
Tony?
don't put Debbie on mute. Let Debbie go. Let her cook. And so your question, can I call you Billy? I know
You
this
can
is
call me.
your show.
We're
Call me
family.
Billy.
I know you
my
as Billy.
family calls me
That's
Billy.
all-
Yes.
Billy.
Yeah. So okay. So Billy, based on from your question, like they've been trying to. So the Republicans have been trying to defund the Department of Education since Jimmy Carter made the Department of Education back in 1979. So there wasn't always a Department of Education.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. So they've been trying to defund it ever since then. And so what they're doing though, it's really complicated because can they truly eliminate it? And they can't eliminate it without, I think it's like 60 votes from the Senate to actually eliminate it completely. So I don't think that's going to.
The Department of Education was done by Congress, and only Congress can get rid of the Department of Education.
Right.
It has to go through Congress.
Right. And so they need those votes in order to eliminate it completely.
And they're not going to get it. Then they won't.
I don't think they're going to get 60, from the Senate based on just how things are. Even if they were to get a couple of Democratic votes, outside of the majority that they have, it still is not going to get them to 60. Now, with that being said, what they can do is make it miserable. And that is where you get into the part of defunding. Yes. And so, because the funding goes through, the appropriations committee. So the appropriations committee is the one that's funding all these programs and projects and all these things. And if they can get folks on the appropriations committee to cut line items, then that puts the Department of Ed in a tough situation to be able to do the things that they were already doing. So, for example, I was on a project, recently where I was, we were contracted with the U.S. Department of Education to do technical assistance for states on a particular grant. And the thing was, each and every day, we weren't sure if the funding was going to be there or what was going to happen with it. But the work that we were involved in is career technical education. And that's big, like apprenticeship programs, certifications, those sort of things, within HVAC, all the trade areas. That's big in the Trump administration. They want to make sure that they maintain that. So that wasn't so much of an issue or a big concern. But in terms of staffing, they were starting to lose staff, because of some of the cuts that were starting to occur. And they're not finished cutting. And one of the things they want to do is they want to send the funding to states, because they're like, well, states, they're on the ground, they know what's happening, those sort of things. And so let's send the funding to the states. But what's going to happen with that is when they send that funding to the states, the states are going to put it into block grants.
Right. You don't know where it's going to go.
Right. You don't know where it's going to go.
Okay, so stop right there.
Yeah.
I'm not that smart, so let's go into telling our listeners what is a block grant, and then and then let's go into how it's effective. I could tell Nick knew what it was, but I don't.
Right. So a block grant is just a way to send money in a lump sum to, let's say, a state agency, and it's up to the state agency to decide how that funding is going to be distributed.
Right. They're going to allocate it on roads even. They do what they want with it.
Yeah.
Right. So they can say, okay, well, we have $100 million here. We're going to give 20 million to education, and we're going to use this other 80 million and other things that we want to do, because there's really no stipulation around how that money is going to be used, unless there's a statute in place that creates a stipulation on specifics on how that money needs to be.
Right. And the sad thing about that is that most of the red states do not contribute to the union. It's the blue states where the Democrats are that basically contribute to the United States of America. So they'll do the things that they have been doing, that like Tennessee. Not if anybody hears from Tennessee, I'm sorry, or Kentucky or anywhere. They don't contribute to the wealth of the nation because they're always in the red.
And when you look at the red states, a lot of the red states,
Arkansas,
education isn't really strong in those states.
So
horrible. Yeah, when you look at people with degrees, when you look at the test scores for 4th grade, 8th grade students that are the kind of entryway points into high school and beyond, so it's almost a question of, with the money that they have had, what are they really doing with it to begin with? And then we want to send the money to those states for those things. So the main issue though with that is that when you have the Department of Education in play, you also had the civil rights concerns in play. So students with disabilities, or schools
that are predominantly black don't get the money that the white schools get.
Exactly.
The states are controlling it.
Right. And so they're they're eliminating all of that. But they're already doing that through, the Attorney General's office. And so.
But do they also
Department of Justice? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
They're trying to give the image that the funding of the Department of Education basically goes to people of color, when in reality, first of all, they wouldn't have made it if it wasn't going to benefit people of the Caucasian race.
Right. They always put stuff on us.
Yeah.
They always making it look like it's our fault, and it's not.
They make us the image of, always getting assistance, just like with what is the food stamp. It's basically only black families are living off of food stamps. No, it's not. You
Yeah,
got you got it, and this has to do with education. Your southern states, which are basically red states, Mississippi, Alabama, Kentucky, they are on the bottom of education.
Right.
They're at the bottom, but they get the most funding because the people use the funding according to how they want.
Yeah, but like we're talking about block grants, that's how they use it. Well, they get it. They do weird things with it.
Yeah, yeah. Wasn't it in Texas where they found out that the guy was taking the money and using it for other things besides what it was supposed? Yeah, I ain't gonna be.
Probably. That's probably in a lot of other places.
Yeah.
yeah, I think that happens
Too.
Even
a lot.
the money
Yeah.
was supposed to go to a college and it went to making a golf or a tennis court or something crazy. You know, it was something crazy. But anyway,
I think it's crazy that the money in America that someone like Elon Musk can buy the presidency for $250 million.
that's
You know,
because we let the president get into power.
well, I mean, but
Welcome to America.
but with that $250 million, it gave him more exposure. It allowed him to be bigger. It basically he paid for it.
Yeah, just like they want to give. What is it? He wants, if you give him so much money, you can get citizenship into this country.
Yeah,
5
that's
million.
right. Yeah.
Like, what
The
is
gold-
that?
The gold visa or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And isn't it
not a green
illegal?
card or a gold card or something like platinum.
What is that?
Does that?
That's ridiculous. That's what it is.
Does that? Somebody who's got some of that money.
The platinum card.
Yeah, yeah.
But isn't
American
it illegal
Express.
for the president to basically endorse a brand? So he just held that Tesla thing at the White House, where it was basically a commercial for Tesla. And then the second thing is he has his own cryptocurrency. So how is that? Tony, we saw
Hey,
you.
Tony. What
But
doesn't
Tony-
he do that's legal? What doesn't he do? Tell me
I don't
something that man does that is legal.
I don't know, but
Seriously.
Mr. Landis,
But that what Debbie was saying about oh gosh, what was she saying? What Debbie
A
was
lot.
saying.
A lot, yeah. I can't even remember.
No, about the numbers, you know,
Yeah.
you know, with what is it? Food stamps, you know, all these things that they say. And I've always said that, you know, look at the numbers. And there's only 40 million Black people in America.
Right.
There's 330 million people in this
Tell him,
country.
Tony.
And we're only 40 million.
Yeah. How
So, you know, now are the percentages, are we a disproportionate number, you know, of those who may be needing financial assistance? Probably, you know, but
I'll be back.
look at the numbers overall, you know, and the people who voted for this guy. Come on now. You know, they're hurting themselves.
they don't, but they're uneducated and they don't realize.
No, I think they realize it, but
They
they
realize
rather,
it
to the
now.
point, they rather have him in office than a Black woman in office.
Yeah.
You know,
Or a woman,
Black-
period.
oh, I think it's woman, period.
Yeah, woman.
Yeah,
He just got double shot, but
with Kamala. I
Yeah.
think she ran a fantastic campaign. I thought she
Yeah.
was going to blow it out of the water.
you know what I
I
question?
just think it was too late. You know,
Really?
that was part of it.
I
And,
question-
but they should have made a decision a lot earlier. The Biden administration should have made a decision a lot earlier. But I understand what he didn't want to.
I question the validity of that election.
Well, the only reason why I do is because Elon Musk has a group of technologists that
That's what I'm talking
could hack anything. But it's hard to say that because then we go back to what happened on January 6th, which
But-
is people swearing that it was wrong. And I wish someone could confirm it. But anyway, I have a question for Tony again. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm probably going to mess up the degree, but I was told that 60% of I believe it's PhDs are held by Black women, and 60% of doctorates are held by a combination of Black men and women. Yet,
I don't know those numbers.
I've never heard that.
yeah, it was on something I was watching the other day. I'm
Huh.
going to Google it and I'll send it out to you guys.
Yeah.
But it totally undercuts the narrative that we're given, right? The narrative is that we are needy, but we are, as a race, one of the most educated.
Well,
And go ahead.
I think it also depends on what your information, like the data point. Like, what were they looking at? Were they looking at, all Black PhDs or all Black degree holders?
No, I think they were looking at all degree holders and then percentage wise. And the most educated is supposed to be the Black woman.
I could see that. Absolutely. When you think about higher ed right now, the numbers for African-American males are diminishing in terms of their attendance, and they're, quite frankly, many of them aren't even applying anymore. So the question becomes, again, looking at data, what are they going into other things? Are they doing other things outside of that? So are they going into like maybe the career tech fields? So, that's a question. But when you look at, the college campuses, like when we were up at Howard, we asked the question about like, what's the ratio of men to women?
Yeah.
And I don't even know if the students really understood what I was asking, because the answer that they gave me didn't make a whole lot of sense. But when you look at with most of the HBCUs, the percentages are like, 70% women, 30% men attending the institution. And we're talking about, like a FAMU, or we're talking about, like a Howard and those other institutions. And then when you look at the predominantly white institutions, and then just the enrollment of Black men and Black women on campus, Black women, there's always enrollments are always much higher for Black women than Black men. And so they are getting degrees at a higher rate than Black men are. And so it reverses that question of the head of house, the head of household, which, we're accustomed to from, our eras of growing up from the 50s, 60s, 70s into the 80s, that the man was always the head of house.
But
right?
she could make the money. The
Right.
woman was getting the
Right.
low jobs, taking care of the family, and
Right.
then went out and did the work. Also, what you need to look at statistically is, even though you have the enrollment, what it is, who completes the education,
True.
who actually goes through and gets the degree. There are a lot of men that go into college, but not all of them. And a lot of it has to do with economics, because they do have to go get jobs to support families in places.
Right.
They may not be able to finish their degree like a woman can. So
Right.
that comes into play too. That's something that needs to be looked at also.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So there's definitely more research that needs to happen, I think, in those areas, especially at this time in our lives, because, what we are seeing is that there's less men applying from community college to university settings.
I have a question to ask. What do you think about vocational schools? Do you think there need to be more vocational schools than what right now?
Yeah. So when I was the role that I was doing when I was in Ohio, oversaw Ohio's what we call post-secondary career tech ed portfolio. So I oversaw the what we call adult career centers. And so they were non-degree granting institutions, but they were preparing students to sit for certifications, licensures in IT and nursing, HVAC, CNC machining, which leads to manufacturing. So all of those areas. And, the thing was, there was always less of us in those institutions, not only from an administrative standpoint. And it was crazy because I'm like overseeing all these in the state. And, I'm like the only black guy in front of everybody,
Yeah.
like the institutions, having these conversations, and so, so from an administrative standpoint, there's less instructors as well as administrators in general.
Yeah.
But from a student standpoint, there were less students. Now, when you got into more of your urban areas like a Cleveland or Akron, there may be an uptick in those numbers for, African Americans or Latino, but, still not the numbers that are needed. Part of that is that we're not talking to our young people about the possibilities of career.
Right.
Yeah.
At an early age.
Right.
Not in high school, not when they're about to graduate.
No.
But we're talking about like from middle school or even earlier to think about a career and what are the things that you need to do in order to be, in that career. And not so much, we talk about, well, what are you going to major in? No, what do you want your life to be like? What do you want to do? What do you want to do? And then from there, let's talk about the programming and the curriculum and the things that you're going to need in order to get you to that profession.
Yeah, that's very good, Tony. That's very good.
Shocking.
What's that?
Just joking. No, it was very good. I was just messing with you. That it was shocking that it was so good.
That'll get you, Billy.
Why? Why me?
This is good. I'm enjoying this.
I am, and I'm getting educated.
Can I say something real quick though? It makes me
real quick.
It makes me feel good to see my cousins at this level.
You know what? This is what I want. I mean, this is the whole point of the conversation, and we're learning about each other. We're learning from each other. We're getting different perspectives. Like it's great. I'm enjoying this immensely.
I appreciate you doing it, really.
Yeah.
As an elder of our,
say that again.
As one of our elders. And let me tell you, I know I am blessed to be here. Okay,
Right.
As one of your elders, to see that our family has come a long way and is continuing to progress. Like what I see what Tony does with his son, Grant. I watched Grant since he was, little top. But you and your wife have always instilled in him to do better, to do higher, and this is something that is awesome. Nikki, I know your kids. Your kids and grandkids, because Nikki got grandkids.
Yeah,
They have picked it up.
Only have 5.
But Billy, even you.
Even you, Billy.
Even you, Billy. Seriously, though, even you. For me to see how the next generation has picked up and continued on, increasing our knowledge, increasing our level, pushing us into a higher economic level, to be able to interact with anybody on any level. This is okay. Here I go, old lady here. It makes me feel like my work wasn't done in vain. Seriously.
One of the things I want you to remember, though, and I don't know if Tony recognizes this, but growing up in Springfield, my uncles were highway patrolmen and the chief of police, right? And so Nick's dad was the chief of police.
Was it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Because the reason why I know that is because Courtney would get mad because we would be driving down the street in her little blue car and Philip would be hanging out the window and a cop would pass and she would go, "Don't do that. My dad's the chief of police and they're going to get us all in trouble." And then, of course, everyone knew Uncle Charlie I just remember him always being in his uniform.
Yeah. But
so
that's ironic because the latter part of his career, he was in a suit because he was down at the governor's mansion. And
doing what?
He was head of security for the governor's mansion.
I didn't know that.
So after he
Oh,
retired,
wow.
He was the only state trooper to have his retirement party in the governor's mansion.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. I didn't know that, Debbie. Wow.
So
Yeah.
so we come from a
Groundbreaking.
group of overcomers,
Yes.
and
And I'm gonna give you a really off the side. Your grandfather, my Uncle Arnold. You know, he was a truant officer.
Yeah, he was a truant officer. He was a truant officer and then a magistrate.
Yes.
Which is
yes.
It's not a judge, but it's kind of like a judge. Like in lieu of a judge, you can see a magistrate. So he would travel all over Illinois.
Yeah.
And conduct different hearings. And I believe that that's why him and my grandmother Emma stayed together so long, because he was gone 4 days out of the week. Because Emma would cuss you out. she would.
Not an Emma. She would. No, come on now.
Oh, please!
You never did that around me.
Y'all don't know like we don't.
That's because you and Philip were acting up.
No. I never acted up. I was always the sweetest, best child ever.
Billy.
Philip, my brother.
Easter weekend. Come on, don't do that.
Well, who's that? In the dark.
Devil. I mean, Speaker. Hey, hello.
Hey, Philip.
We can't see you. Turn on the
can't
light.
see me.
Coming to the light, Philip. Coming to the light.
Ladies and gentlemen, my brother.
That's his brother. That's his baby brother.
No,
Is that
that's
Philip?
my baby
That's
brother.
Philip. That's
Oh, Philip, how you doing?
What's going on?
Hey.
But you're still loud as usual. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Hey, I just want to say real quick that I love y'all and I see what y'all doing and I'm with it 100%.
All right.
So y'all take care.
Hey, where are you living, Philip? Where are you?
He's in Springfield.
He's in Springfield. All right.
He's in Springfield.
Debbie, don't let nobody talk. I swear to God.
Thanks,
That's
Debbie.
why I'm old. That's why I wanted to be old. Because you can't, hey, when you get old, you can't stop us, okay?
You made him leave.
Guys, I'm going to leave the group now.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's really nice seeing everybody, talking to everybody, and everybody on the other side who I can't see but are probably listening in. We'll talk to you soon.
All right.
All
Good
right.
seeing
Tell
you.
Tony I said hi and that I love her.
I'll do that.
And tell Courtney that I miss her and that she should call me. And we
Yeah,
had this conversation
I
yesterday.
will talk to Courtney and tell her that and have her try to participate if possible.
Yeah, I would love for her to participate.
All right.
And you have a good one. Nick, I really appreciate it. I really appreciate the fact that we haven't talked in years and I called you and said, will you join? And you just said yes after you cussed me out for 10 minutes yesterday. I love you, man.
All right. Nick. See you guys.
All right, Nick.
Gone, Debbie.
What? I was in Utah. You tried to tell us.
Who's LP? Is that Lisa?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I really enjoyed watching my cousins and my little brother have a
Oh,
great
okay,
conversation.
yeah, it is. Then. Yeah.
We're not a
Lisa.
She wants to put her name.
Lisa, you need to be on the next show. And I'm going to commit you to that.
Yeah.
And I want Christian on too. CJ.
CJ. Oh wow.
Yeah.
I'll reach out to him and tell him.
Yeah, I've wondered what he's been up to and how's he doing.
We can relive that moment in LA. That time.
I'm actually going out there in July. I'm going out there in July.
Are you
going out where?
LA. I'm going out to Jimmy. See, Jimmy will be 80.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Kenneth. Stay out of family business because I have called her several times. I invited her out here years ago after my grandmother's funeral.
Who?
And Courtney. and told her that I would take her to the Miss Carter tour by Beyonce, because her name is Miss Carter. That's really what happened.
Okay.
She came out to Miami, stayed 2 blocks from me, and I called her by accident, and she let me know where she was. I'm like, let's meet. And she said, well, I'm with my boyfriend and another couple. And I said, well, can we just meet for Starbucks? And she said, let me check with them. And then she never called me back. So the phone does work both ways, Kenneth, but I'm only going to get my hand slammed in the door so many times before it's time for her to call me.
Billy.
Got it?
Billy, tell whoever said that that's family business and he needs to stay out of it.
You just did. I love her to death, but yeah. Yeah, I love her to death, but you know, you do so many outreaches and then get nothing in return. So you're just like, okay.
Yeah, that's true with anybody.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it. I mean, if I call you 10 times, Tony, and you call me back never, at what point am I going to say, all right, well, he's not interested in having a relationship?
Obviously, I don't want to talk to you, right?
Yeah.
I don't think he wants to talk to me, so why am I doing this?
Or it could be the wrong number.
Yeah.
No. She replied, so it's the right number.
Now you're mad, and I didn't do.
Don't try that.
It had the right number.
Don't try that.
So Lisa did not respond to my telling her that she needs to be on the show.
Yeah,
and I know she's listening. So
I'll
Lisa, she can hear us.
Yeah, we're gonna do that. We're gonna do that off camera. We don't do that on camera.
Okay.
Would you have done that on camera with Nikki and let him cuss you out on camera?
Nick cussed me out last night.
That's what I'm saying. Would you have done that on camera?
So let me tell you, this is really funny because I believe that I'm a grown man. But I called Nick and I said, all right, so this is what you need to do. And I said, text, because Tony and I were communicating through Facebook at first. And then I told Nick, text me your number. I'm walking my dogs. He said, no, take my number now. So I had to stop what I was doing. And my dogs are like 110 pounds each.
I know.
So I had to stop what I was doing and take his number. And then he said, all right, well, y'all gonna give me some time to speak, right? And I'm like, yes, Nick. Like he had conditions, like Jennifer Lopez, like literal, like, okay, I need this, and this.
I'll clear that up for you. Half of Nikki is a Jackson.
Okay, leave that alone. But what I felt in the moment, which was very, very shocking, was he didn't put me in my place, but he's the older cousin. So in that moment, when he gave me directives, I was just like, okay. Like normally, like where I would normally push back on somebody.
That's respect. That's respect.
Okay, but hold on a second. Let me. I mean, you know, I'm an older.
He didn't cuss me out.
Cousin. I'm an older cousin. I didn't put you through that, did I?
No. But you're different people, and part of what we have to do with each other is know that you be you. That means we all view the world through a different lens.
And I understand Nikki. Like I said, Nikki, my brother were like 2 peas in a pod. So I know Nikki doesn't bother me. I know Nikki, and I know his temperament. So I'm good with it. I can interact with him. You too.
How did you know that I wouldn't have put Nick on the spot?
Because I know Nikki. I know Nikki. Okay.
He would have let me have it.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think about the platform? Like what we just did?
I like it.
I appreciate it.
Do you?
I like it. Absolutely. And I like the idea of trying to get more cousins on, you know, maybe bringing back cousins.
The thing I suggest is not have too many of us.
Right. That's what I was going to say, because I mean, if you get too many, then it's going to be hard to have a conversation, because it's not like a Zoom meeting, right? Where people are muted, where people mute themselves so others can talk, and
we don't do that. We don't.
Right. Right. We're gonna jump in. We're gonna say what we need to say.
Like they
Yeah.
But to have
Family.
like maybe, at the height, like 3, and so 4 all together.
Yeah, that's my
Right.
plan.
Very
And
good.
then coming up with like maybe some theme topics, like specific things to talk about,
Yeah.
specific to
And to get the different
family.
generations in. Get the different generations in. So,
Right, yeah.
so that they can get to know their cousins.
So my goal is really to have you, Tony, and Nick and one of his grandchildren, or in lieu of Nick, one of his grandchildren,
Right.
and then Bill Scott wants his daughter to join, one of them,
that would
and then Grant could join,
Yeah.
So we're
Grant may
getting.
not get on.
Really?
Wait.
He's
I'm just
17,
saying.
man.
Oh.
I'm just saying, because
He might though. He might.
Right.
we want to get to know each other.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
and
that's true.
and from different perspectives.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I wouldn't necessarily want to have Tony and Lisa on the same show, right? I would want them to be on different
I don't
shows.
know, because then you would have the perspective of siblings.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And
You
you
would
have
have-
our viewpoint of,
Yeah.
our lens of being a part of the Scott family, right?
Right.
And so and that's a different perspective because our grandfather was different than
Yeah. Well,
the other uncles. Yeah.
It's interesting because
Right.
Debbie said something last week that I'm going to share with you. Bill and I were talking about the generational gap in the paternal
Right.
aspect, because my
Right.
father died when I was 8.
Right.
And Debbie said, Bill Scott said that piece skipped a generation of fatherhood parenting.
Mhm.
And Debbie said, but that's not true, because whenever it happened, the cousins and the uncles stepped in. And I was like, you're right. You're right.
Actually,
Chris
They did.
Tony's family is a prime example. His grandfather,
Right.
my uncle, when he divorced Aunt Sarah,
Yeah.
Daddy and Uncle Buzz stepped in where their brother stepped out.
Right.
and
Go ahead.
give me his name again.
Who?
My grandfather,
Yeah.
James.
Uncle Tooks. He's James Scott.
Right.
We call him Uncle Tooks. Uncle
Yeah.
Tooks.
So he lived in a different city, right?
No.
No, he lived in
He
Springfield.
live in Springfield?
He was different. He was
Okay.
different than his brothers.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could say that. And
Yes.
I didn't really have a relationship with him.
No.
Like I wanted to have, like you want to have that grandfather that's there, and that wasn't the case. But I knew my great uncles.
Yeah.
So I knew
Yeah.
Uncle Charlie. I knew Uncle Buzz.
Yeah.
And then that was because, as Debbie was saying, that they stepped in when he stepped out. So the cousins were still able to connect. And
Yeah.
so the cousins still had a relationship. But because of that gap, I think created a gap for us
Right.
as we were growing up as kids. They started to have children.
Yeah.
It was a gap there for us.
Even though
to make connections.
even though your uncles stepped in, it's not the same thing as your father, your grandfather.
Right.
Yeah. I was lucky because I had one of the best grandfathers in the world.
Uncle Arnold.
He taught me how to shave. He taught me how to drive. He was just,
He was an
and
uncle.
he was steady.
Yeah.
And then you had Emma.
Yeah. Well.
I love Aunt Emma. And Aunt Emma wanted me to come live with her. After he had passed away. Yeah. So it was the beginning of my high school. So I would have been starting high school. And that was the conversation. And I thought about it and I almost did it, but I didn't want to leave my friends, so I would have been going I went to Southeast. I would have been going to
you would have been in Springfield. Yeah.
Right. And it was, I had grown up with these kids,
Yeah.
you know, that I was going to school with since, you know, we had all been going to the same school, you know, those sort of things. But I really wanted to be there for Aunt Emma as well. So I was kind of torn, but I had to make that decision. You know, we're talking about like a 14-year-old. So
Yeah. So
But you,
I don't know the age difference between you and I, Tony. To be honest with you.
okay, well,
but why didn't we know each
72.
other? Me too.
no,
I was
you,
born in '88.
no, you weren't.
See, he keeps, come on now.
He
When
was born.
when we came to LA,
He was born in '67. Okay.
now you and Lisa are close in age, but I even think you're a little older than Lisa.
No, he's older than Lisa.
Yeah.
Hold on for a
Yeah.
second. Y'all need to start. First of all,
Yeah.
we're still live,
No, you go there,
Oh, I'm
Billy.
sorry.
and I'm 22 in my head.
Well, now,
So
we're not denying that.
Yeah. You can be young. Forever young. Forever young.
So she's saying something different. Basically, she's saying I'm immature. Thank you,
No,
Debbie.
I'm saying
No,
you're
don't say that.
youthful. Well, I'm saying you're youthful. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I dig that. But I don't understand why we didn't know each other deeper.
Right. Well, that's part of it. I think part of those disconnects. So, you know, and some of that plays on my mom as well, you know, because even as she got older and, you know, people start living their life. I mean, we're going through it now.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we're living our life. You know, we don't have the same level of connection to family like we, you know, if they were around the corner, it'd be different. You
Right.
know, but they're not. I'm in Ohio, right?
Let me-
You're in Florida.
Let me throw this in real quick too. The picture that you put on for this podcast, the picture of the cousins on the stereo, okay?
Yes. I actually made two. There was one that was
I saw
the
it.
original picture, and
Yeah.
then one that I made out of AI.
But the original picture.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
good.
I've seen that.
That set of cousins right there. We grew up in each other's backyard. We made a bond, not verbally, but we just made a bond. And to this day, we're there. It has a lot to do with the time of growing up at the age of, you know, we didn't have electronics. We didn't have all this other stuff. We only had each other
Yeah.
to entertain each other with. Okay. So I think that comes into play a lot with why you guys didn't grow up close, is because you weren't physically there. We were physically
Right.
there. My sister used to say, I didn't have friends, I had family.
You know, my mom said that when she was in high school, that she would get upset because every time she saw a good-looking man, it was one of her cousins.
I went through that too. And for those out there who in whatever land y'all in, I had growing up 32 first cousins. 32 first cousins. Stopping, and now we got 33. But 32
Yeah. Didn't know about that one. My grandfather. My grandfather again showing up.
What?
I don't think he knew. I don't really think he knew.
Are you serious? You think
Yeah,
so?
I'm serious. Yeah, we talked about it. Randy and I, we talked about it. We don't think he knew. We seriously don't think he knew. And because none of the aunts or uncles said anything.
Right.
That's
they kept that quiet, boy.
That would have never been quiet. Okay. That would have never been quiet. So we don't think he knew. We really don't think he knew. And from what Randy said about her mother, it's very possible.
Right.
And Randy also, shared with me her birth certificate.
Mm-hmm.
So, that also. So anyway, that's a whole.
It's solidified.
Well,
It's a different show.
That is.
Yeah. That's
show. But no, the DNA.
I just learned about it a couple of years ago, right?
The DNA solidified it because when it came up.
Oh, that's right. She saw Mom.
Yeah, your mom.
Because we did a Ancestry.com, because I did one. I did one for Mom.
Yeah, and that's how
that was a gift that me and my wife gave to my mother.
That's
And that's how it happened. Yeah.
Yeah, that was because of that. That's how that connection. And the ironic thing is, she grew up down the street from me. She played, with me. She played with Pablo. Pablo would used
I
to come,
didn't.
to Sonny's house with his. She said she remembered the German Shepherd. Pablo always had German Shepherds,
Right.
and we done gone off into a whole different tangent.
Yeah.
But
I don't know, Billy. Did you know Pablo?
Yeah.
That was mine.
not really. He
Okay.
wasn't.
I don't think I
He's
met him.
like 6'8". So you
Yeah.
wouldn't have missed him if he came.
No, you
All the
wouldn't
men in our
think
family
so.
were kind of tall anyway. But
Freddie was
Why am I a midget?
your dad's side of the
hey,
family.
man, it happens.
And your Uncle Arnold was short. So
I'm built more like him, round.
yes, you
kinda.
are not round. He was no, seriously. I didn't think Uncle Arnold was round. He was hefty, because
Well, you remember him as you remember him through all of his phases.
yeah.
When my memory of him, he had a kind of a pot belly and receding hairline, and it's different.
I saw. Yeah.
You guys can't see these things on the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
Now I do.
Yeah.
This
Deborah
says
Scott.
Deborah.
Nick.
That Deborah's the catalyst for bringing out the best in all of them.
Yeah.
Thank you, Deborah. You're a boss.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm looking at all the comments. Lisa said that she'll be on. She said, I heard you.
I
would
saw
love
that.
to be on. Okay.
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay. I'm just here. Okay, I don't know.
You're stealing my show, baby.
As long as you're here, that's all.
Stuff, I made it. That's what counts. I made it. I may have taken me a couple of times. I don't know how I got sideways, but
Well, this has been fun.
I want to know that I love all of my family. I do, and I mean
I do too.
Seriously,
Yeah, me too.
I love all of my family. I may not like all of my family.
The thin line.
But no, seriously, there's a difference. I love you and I will do anything for you. That's how deep that love is. That doesn't mean I like what you're doing, but if I can help you, I'm there for you. That's how I was raised on both sides of my family, on my mom and my dad's. And the Scotts have a tradition. We are a very close-knit family, very close-knit. And we've always taken pride in everything we do and say. And you guys are carrying that on. And I thank you.
That was an amazing speech. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I am very proud. I am very proud of my cousins. Very proud.
How are George and Ronnie?
Georgie's doing great. Oh, was that for me?
Yeah.
Okay, Georgie's doing great. Georgie's getting older. I talk to him every once in a while. I talk to Ronnie Ronnie is actually doing pretty good. Ronnie's in a situation where he's comfortable and he's doing good. And Georgie,
That's all we can ask.
Now Georgie has 2 sets of kids.
I do. And do you know George, Tony?
I don't think so. George White.
White, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's got,
not well, but I know.
You know who he is.
He went to Illinois State, right?
Right.
Played baseball.
No, Ronnie played baseball.
Ronnie, I thought both of them played.
No. George
Okay, so it was just Ronnie that played.
Yeah. Illinois State has a history of Scots going to the. Georgie was first, Mary was second, I was third, and then your niece went there too.
Yvette.
Yvette, yeah.
Yeah, Yvette went to Illinois State. Yeah.
So there was 4 of us that went to Illinois State.
Bill Scott went to Illinois State too.
Did he? I didn't know that.
I didn't know Bill went to. Okay.
And his daughter is going to the University of Michigan right now, but she's doing a tour in Europe. And this is what I mean by.
And his son's thinking about Denison, because I saw Bill post something about a year ago, and I told him like Denison is like 30 minutes away from me.
Is that what it is?
So if he makes the decision to go to Denison, we can connect him. We'll be here for him. You know,
I
so
think Denison, according to the show last week, Denison is Ryan's first choice, but he's just weighing out all of his options.
well, you
And
have
he's
to.
already been accepted to
I
Denison,
have to, right?
and I think Bill said like Denison's a really great school. Like
It is.
the people that go there, it's more, I don't want to say
Right.
boutique, but it's a smaller school, more intimate. He's going into
Where is
liberal
Denison?
arts. He wants to be a writer
Where is
in
Denison?
Ohio.
No,
It's in
where?
Ohio. Yeah, it's in Newark, Ohio.
Okay.
It's like
Newark's up there towards.
it's like a little Ivy.
Okay, yeah, Newark's up,
Yeah.
Newark's up towards Cleveland.
What's that?
Newark's up close to Cleveland, though, isn't it?
No, Newark is
Oh, no,
actually
Newark's right outside of Columbus, isn't it?
yeah,
Right,
and that's
right.
where I'm at. So like
Right.
where I live in a suburb of Columbus. We're probably about 25 minutes away from
What
25
part?
to 30 minutes away from Newark.
Where are you in Columbus? Because I thought you.
I'm in Reynoldsburg.
I go for those.
So like Gahanna, Reynoldsburg, Blacklick. So we're kind of like on the edge of Reynoldsburg and Blacklick.
Yeah, I had one of my best friends lived out there, and that is I forget where she's at now because I've lost track. You know, because I was in Ohio for.
Right.
You've lived everywhere.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
Where's your favorite place to have that you lived?
That I live?
Yeah.
It's between Cincinnati and where I'm at now.
So Debbie, where were we when I can barely remember this. I was probably like 3 or 4 years old, but I still remember that you took us to the it was like a beach.
Are you sure it was me or was it my sister?
I thought both of you were there.
A beach?
I thought it was Ellen and you.
Well, you see how
You guys were inseparable, so I
Yeah.
don't remember really.
Well, now see the problem with that. We were growing up, but Ellen actually left when she went away to college. That was in '69. Ellen never really came back and lived in Springfield after that. Your sister was her bride, her flower girl in her wedding, at her first wedding.
First wedding.
Well, she was married twice. But I'm trying to think, Tony. You sure that was me and Ellen?
It had to be. And again, like this is coming from a 3 when I was like 3 or 4. We're talking a long time ago. But I do.
Wouldn't have been Lake Springfield, would it?
No, this was like a beach. Was it like near Chicago?
It had to be Chicago because neither
Yeah.
one of us lived in it.
That's probably where it was.
Because Ellen lived in Elgin. And when she
Okay.
went to college, she taught school in Elgin.
Okay. But you were both there.
Well, like Billy said, we were inseparable. I probably was trying to get out of spring.
Yeah, you were both there because and that's when I remember like whenever I was around you, Ellen was there. Like you were both there. Like,
Yeah.
and this is times when I was like maybe 5. I was really young, but I remember.
My sister
There's so much love. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
y'all spoiled me, so I enjoyed that.
we were best friends. We seriously, we were best friends.
Are you okay? Take your time.
I have trouble sometimes
It's okay.
because I have no immediate family anymore. All I have is my cousins. And I have been so blessed that my cousins have always stepped in and taken care of me. My sister and I had a very close relationship. I never knew life without her. And for me to be there, for me
We
to
love
be
you.
there and
We
take
love
care
you.
of her.
We're here. We're here for you.
I know that's.
And I'm glad we're doing this today.
I would tell you, Billy's mom, Barbara, and Chrissy were my backbone. Because I had to bury my dad, my mom, and my sister. That's not easy to do in a short period of time. It was from 2018 to 2022. I buried all three of them. This is where family comes in. This is how I know. Who is that? This is how I know my family is strong. I did not have to do anything. They were there for me. And to this day, you can't break that bond. That bond is just, like you were saying, it was the three of us at one time. My sister, Ellen, me, and my cousin Mary. We used to call each other sister cousins. Okay. We went everywhere together. I mean, we did, there was the three of us. We did everything together. I was the youngest, of course. But I created the most havoc, But that's what family is about. That's what family is about. And I know I'm rambling now.
No, you're not.
No, you're not.
But you need to continue this. Take it down to the next generation so that they can continue. Y'all need to do whatever you can to get that generation that's under you to start interacting with one another. You have a whole set of cousins you know nothing about.
That's what this is about.
You have because you haven't even, like Sabrina, Ivan's daughter. She would be somebody I think would be awesome to get involved in this. She lives in Jackson, Mississippi. She's got grandkids. Her kids are awesome. In fact, her daughter sang at Aunt Emma's, when they honored Aunt Emma at the reunion. It was her daughter that sang at that reunion. I don't know if you were there.
I have a complaint. Is that okay for you guys?
Yeah.
All right. So last June, one of my mom's best friends passed away from when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I said, I asked my mom if she was going to go to the service. And my mom said, well, that's the same weekend as our family reunion. I knew nothing about a family reunion.
Are you kidding me?
Like, my own mother did not invite me to the family reunion.
It's not. No.
I found out by accident.
Billy
Yeah,
Jackson.
it needs to be on the list. It's
Billy
not.
Jackson.
Yeah, it's that's something that we needs to be discussed privately. Don't put that on your mother. That wasn't your mother.
I'm not putting. I mean, I'm not putting it on her. I just
No.
Fact
I
that,
understand where you're going. That was
just the fact that there was a family reunion, and I found
Billy,
out because I asked mom if she was going someplace.
But just think, just stop and think. You're not the only one in the family that's going through that.
But
See,
not,
how many other cousins aren't aware of what's going on with the family in the family reunions? Seriously.
I think it needs to get out of Springfield.
No,
It's not in Springfield.
It's like in Springfield every 2 years.
Yeah, that hasn't happened.
Which is cool.
Yeah. And the only reason
You don't like Springfield.
I think differently, Tony. So I would say, hey, let's all go to the Bahamas on a cruise. I mean, like a 3-day cruise.
We take over the whole boat.
It would
It's
be
possible. Are you going to set it up?
Yeah.
I can set it up. Absolutely. I've done travel events for years. But Indiana Dunes.
Family, not with your family.
Oh, no. I would just make sure that if I brought all these people, that I would get upgraded to a suite that I could stay in and shut the door and not deal with y'all.
That's the privilege of being organizer. You can get that
right. Have my butler suite.
You already got it planned out.
Yeah. So I'll organize.
Yeah.
Indiana Dunes is what Lisa is saying.
Yeah.
Oh, is that Lisa? Oh,
yeah.
What was Indiana Dunes, Lisa?
That was the beach that we were at.
Oh,
she would remember.
Lisa was Ellen's flower girl.
That's what it was? It was
For
a-
which wedding?
Lisa was Ellen's flower girl. At Ellen's first wedding, Lisa, yeah, that's Bernadette's oldest daughter, right?
yeah. Hmm.
She was Ellen's flower girl. Lisa, do you remember that?
I think we have pictures
I,
of that.
I remember
Yeah.
being the ring bearer at George's first wedding.
Wedding.
So what do you think about George taking this spot that you're in right now, Debbie, for one of our things? Because he's full of history.
You wouldn't get a word in edgewise. And
Well, I didn't get more than wrong with you.
no, I'm the quiet
No.
one. I'm the quiet one of my generation. Georgie is I love Georgie.
I know.
Georgie talks. My most Scots too. All of Georgie's information is not accurate though.
There's some Scots.
Did I do that tackle?
I'm just saying, there's a few that kind of embellish some things sometimes. Not on here.
Wait,
Not on here.
no, and we
No.
all have that tendency though. We all have that tendency.
So I grew up thinking that Grandma Scott was the daughter of Marshall Field.
That came from your side of the fence. Yeah,
What do you mean?
we have looked into that, and we think what happened was, see, Grandma. Brief history. Grandma's parents died when she was very young. I think like under the age of 5. So she went to live with her sister in Fowler, Indiana. And we think somewhere in that area, because that's where the fields, there was somebody, Kathy is the one that has that information. There was somebody that had the field's last name that we think Grandma had a connection with, because Aunt Emma and Barbara and Joyce used to tell us that Grandma would get these gifts every Christmas from Marshall Fields. But we think it was this family putting gifts into a Marshall Field box and sending it to Grandma. I don't know. It's not true. Grandma doesn't have anything to do with the Marshall Fields in Chicago. No, Grandma doesn't.
Okay, so I'd like to continue that story because it makes me sound really fabulous.
It was. Grandma's life was.
So she's all of our grandmother.
Huh? No,
Just so everyone knows.
She's your great.
No, but Tony's great grandmother too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you and Tony are the same level, cousin wise. So my aunt and uncles are your great aunts and uncles. My grandmother is your great grandmother. So
Right.
Your great grandmother, she had, from what I can remember, we believe her mother died from childbirth. Her father died in a fire, because of a fire. And this was at a very early age. And she was sent up to Fowler, Indiana to be raised. Now, you also know that there were 2 sisters that married 2 brothers.
Yeah.
We're double cousins. And it's very interesting. It's very interesting how, because we tried to figure out how did Grandma and Grandpa meet, because Grandpa was born in Lanesville, Illinois. And, Grandma's up in Indiana, but we think there was somebody. It's complicated. But sisters and brothers got together and married sisters and brothers. And there's a lot of history. There's a lot of history that our family partake in Central Illinois. Kathy has the newspaper clippings of how they had all these grand parties and stuff. Mm-hmm. And that, our aunts, our great aunts, great aunts and uncles took part of it, and how they were dentists and a lot of them were farm owners. You have a history of in your family, they were great. What do you call them? Square. They raised horses, trained horses.
Yeah. Right.
Equestrians.
It's square.
Yeah.
And did you know that part of the land of the University of Illinois was donated to our family?
I didn't know
No.
that. I knew they were part of a farm. So like when I was doing some of the
Out
research,
Broadland.
yeah.
Yeah.
When I was doing some of the research, you know what you're saying about I saw some of that.
Yeah.
We even had like at some point in time, some of our family lived in Ohio.
Oh yeah.
They
Yeah.
moved from Ohio to like outside of the Dayton area, and then they went back to Illinois. So it's really interesting. And I was taken off from where,
Uncle Buzz and Emma were born in Ohio.
yeah. And so
Really?
like I was taken from what you know, where Charles had initially started when he was when he looked at which Billy, this would be our great grandfather, Peyton H. Scott.
Yes.
Who was born in 1793, and he was born free.
Yes.
And so that just intrigued me because I was like, okay, for him to be born free, you know, who was his father?
That's what we can't find.
You know, and so that's like, and that's the mystery, and that's the point that I would need to, because I started doing some other research that traced our great grandmother, potentially with some connections to like, we're talking like the early 1700s.
Now, Tony, I'm going to tell you something. Charles also told me that the information about Peyton Scott is he was in Staunton, Virginia, and that information is in the basement of Staunton, Virginia. They did not have the personnel to go down there and find it.
Right.
So from what I understand, that information is
available.
Yeah.
Oh, it's there. It's there. Yeah. And you know, it's like I would need to go to Virginia and get into the stacks. And
either
I mean,
in Staunton or in Richmond, because Richmond is
and the thing was, he was from Albemarle County, Virginia, where Thomas Jefferson is from. Yeah. And so, and there were some Scots on his plantation.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that we're connected there, but I do know that our great grandfather was he was a cooper.
Cooper, yes.
Which was a barrel maker.
Yes.
And so
nobody descended from him was ever enslaved.
Right.
Our family has always been free people.
Right. And even on the maternal side, going into like, I think even South Carolina, like I was starting to trace some of our family into like South Carolina.
Now, are you talking about grandma's side of the family?
I think so.
No, grandma's side of the family, a family called Hodges. They were see, this is where it gets, Kathy has it. They were enslaved from a family named Hodges. And there's actually a book. I got it off of Amazon. And if I can find that, I can tell you it gives you the history of us, and it tells about how we got free from that family.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but Grandma Scott's family is through a master named. I don't have the exact name and everything.
So who? Then there is a South Carolina connection though, and I can't remember.
Yeah,
and I don't know if that's from like our great grandmother, from like the research that I was doing. But now, I have a couple of books that I want to look at because I was thinking like when I first started kind of doing some of the research, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna find somebody enslaved because we were all free. I was like, well, where.
That's what I've always wanted to do is that Henry Louis Gates does. I've always wanted to submit our family to him and see, because we can't find out where Peyton Scott is buried.
Yeah.
We know where he died. He was a Rolling Stone.
Yeah, you know what? And he was like our great grandmother. He was, I believe, from the research that I was doing, that he was married prior to marrying her, because he was like 55 years old when he married her.
He was a
And
Rolling
she was like 15 or 20.
Yeah.
I don't know. The numbers are kind of like a little sketchy.
Yeah.
But
Emma, that's where South Carolina could come from one of his wives and the children that they had from there. It could be because Peyton Scott did get around.
yeah,
I think he was even in Missouri at one time.
well, I know that he was in Ohio because when I was tracing his records from like from the Civil War, so the end of the Civil War, so we're talking about 1865. He's listed in Ironton, Ohio,
Was that
and with the white family. And I was like, well, what's going on here? But his kids and our great grandmother was still in Virginia, and she ended up passing during the Civil War. But the kids left, and that starts our lineage.
Right. Be honest, Kathy Scott has all that. She has all that.
I know that Kathy was doing some of that.
She's got a lot of that stuff. And, it's complex. It's complex because because he did marry two different, and he had children, and these children had, and that's how we get related to so many different peoples, because we have an extended family.
Right.
But the beginning of our family, our paternal side, are from a free man of color, and none of his descendants were ever enslaved, as far as we know. We have not found that.
Which is crazy.
Maternal side, grandma's side of the family, yes, they were enslaved, and that's why grandma, I think, was so fair skinned, because she's a direct descendant of that. So,
Slavery or from the abuse from the master?
both. I think someone in her, probably her grandmother, her great grandmother, was a slave to this Hodges, and she is a product of that.
Got it.
So we found, and this guy Hodges, he had a lot of money too. Another thing Tony needs to look to,
where did Tony go?
I don't know. Tony, you still there? You just
I'm still here. Yeah, I had
had
to make a shift and plug in my computer. It wasn't plugged in. It was about to cut out.
Also, we also have land. We had land out in Oklahoma.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I think Barbara has the deeds, the deeds to it. Your grandmother gave, she's got it from that. Yeah, we had land out in Oklahoma too. How did we get out in Oklahoma? Okay. How did we get out in Oklahoma? I think
But going back to the narrative about our not our family, but our people, is that we are not ambitious. We're not doers. We are wanting to live off of government, aid. And the truth is, every time we made a step forward, someone pushed us back. They took our land from us. They bombed Tulsa. Yeah. They made sure that we didn't have the right to vote. And they're doing it again.
I was going to say, this is the repeat of that. They're trying to take it away from us again. So it's up to y'all.
No, I got to plug in my system.
It's up to y'all now, and give it to your kids. If you can't handle it, give it to your kids, because somebody got to get out there and do it. I did mine.
Honestly, as I get older, I think it's time for us to start stepping up because we have such a rich legacy, and unless Tony and I do something, I don't know who's going to take. I'm not saying me and Tony, but I'm just saying
your generation.
unless this generation
Well, I think
picks
this
up
is
the
a start,
torch.
Billy. I think this could be a start, to getting cousins together, having these conversations, and then moving
And inviting me to the reunion.
Yeah, that would probably be
We ain't invite you.
yeah, that's item number 1 on the list. You got to talk to your mom about that, bro.
Right? Let's blame her.
What is interesting about what you're doing right now is you can find out about each other that you never knew. Parts of your lives that you experienced. Because we've all got a history to talk about. We've all got and we need to share it, and we need to make sure that our family continues.
I agree with you, Dad.
I agree.
I was going to say something, but I just forgot what it was. This is my age,
That Mama said I have that disease called AGE.
Yeah. I literally, and I'm telling everyone out there, this was going to be the most profound statement of the entire show.
And you lost it.
That's what I say whenever I lose it.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, come on now, Billy.
I have no clue what it was going to be.
It'll come back to you as soon as you sign off.
Yeah. I want to keep this conversation going. Not today.
Yeah.
No. We've been on for 2 hours.
I was gonna say,
yeah. But what amazes me about this, and this is last week as well, is it doesn't feel like it. It was such a rich conversation that encompassed so much.
Yeah.
And brought us closer together. Tony, I really, really thank you for accepting the invite.
You, Tony.
That was amazing. The people out there missed Deborah's scream when she saw Tony on screen. And then they said we can recreate it for the audience. I'm like, no.
Oh my gosh.
We're authentic here.
I thank you for inviting him, because it really.
Yeah. Thanks, Billy. I appreciate it. And Debbie, so good to see you as always.
I know.
Always feel the love when I see you.
Yeah.
It takes me back when I was that little kid.
Having flashbacks.
Yeah, man. I'm telling you, Billy, they would spoil me to no end.
Yeah, that's what and I have to give credit where credit is due. My mom was a part of that too.
Your mom and dad were fantastic.
Yeah.
And they had none of us know what goes on in anyone's home, right?
No.
But whenever I was around them, I was laughing.
Yeah, we were like that. Yeah.
Your mom and your dad. Yeah. And the love that your dad had for your mom was simply amazing.
I learned to be respectful of it, and how he treated my mother. My mother was a queen to my dad.
Yeah. And what would scare me about your mother is at 90-something years old, she was out driving around. And I'm like, what the hell?
92.
Stop her from getting that van.
Did you know how I stopped her from driving? I sold her car. I sold it.
I was just like, what? There has to be a law against this.
That's the only way I could stop.
How did she get her license renewed?
Mom knew how to do it. She did it because after you're 86 in Illinois, you have to take it every year.
Oh yeah.
And it was only one time that she had trouble getting it renewed. But after, I don't know if she memorized it or what. Because I asked, can I call down there and tell them not to? gonna ask them, don't approve her. But yeah, she drove up to. She probably would have driven that car till the day she died, except that I sold her car. I sold her car. That's all.
You do what you got to do.
Yeah, I did.
So
But yeah, my mom and dad, they were married for 68 years and knew each other's 5 years before them. So that's longevity. That is
yeah, it
longevity.
is longevity.
Yeah.
I'd like to give each one of you guys like a closing thought.
Tony?
I
Yeah,
just
because
want
she's
to
gonna be
say,
long, Tony.
no,
Oh,
family's everything.
yeah.
Yes,
Family is everything.
And my
Love you all.
yeah, my
love you
closing
too.
thought is remember he died so that we could live. This is Easter.
Perfect for Easter. Perfect for Easter.
He died so we could live.
Amen.
And
My
Billy,
closing thought. Go ahead. Where'd you
I
go?
say Billy, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. My closing thought is, I want to be closer to all of you guys. Tony, Lisa, Christian, whoever's out there. We are not alone.
Yeah.
We have a thread that ties us together, and we are family. No matter how far we are from each other,
Yeah.
if you guys need me, I'll step up. I'll be there.
Yeah.
And you don't have to explain yourself because family doesn't have to explain themselves.
Exactly.
They just show up when they're needed.
Yes,
Debbie, I love you so much. You are never alone.
never.
You do have immediate family.
Yeah, I do.
You do.
Yeah,
You
I do.
do.
I do.
And I know it doesn't feel the same.
No. But it's there. It's
But
there.
it's there.
Y'all
And
stepped in. You stepped in. And I
we're
appreciate
family.
it. Yeah.
We're absolutely family. And my mother talks about you all the time. She said she was going to call you.
Now your mother
Huh?
used to babysit us.
Oh, that must have been terrible.
That I did not know.
It was scary.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Barbara and Joyce used to babysit. They were the only ones that my mom and dad would allow to babysit us.
So how's Joyce?
Yeah.
Well, I know how she is physically, but when you were there last time, that it makes no sense that, sorry, Tony, it makes no sense that my mom gave up her house to live with Joyce when they never, ever, ever got along.
It did make a sense because your mother was going back and forth so much that it was physically taxing on her.
But she just needs a place to go. So even if she did move in with Joyce, I wouldn't have sold my house.
But that's where I came in.
Okay.
I came in. That's where
There you go.
this is where family came in. She was my crutch. I was her crutch. I would not have left Springfield if she hadn't let me. Seriously, I told her, even today, if she needed me to come back, I'd come back. But yeah, I
Oh, you
wouldn't.
talked to her today?
I talked to her. Don't ask me. I can't remember what the day is, so don't ask me.
Yeah. She told me she was going to call you when I told her that you were going to be on.
Yeah, I talked to her 2 days ago.
Yeah.
I talked to her this week sometime. Yeah, but yeah, if I asked both her and Chrissy if I could go. Now, look, old me asking my cousins if I could move out of town. Yeah, but that I would not have left. If Barbara said she needed me to be there, I would have stayed. She always had a room in my house. She had the keys to my house. I told her, even if you just sitting out on the deck, just she had the comings and goings, and
she needs to get away and take care of herself.
She does. Yes, she does. And that was another thing I used to make her do. I used to make her take vacations.
Good. Well, try to talk her into that now.
They're going to get Joyce situated to where she will be able to go. I think it's in play now that they're going to get Joyce situated so that she can get away and get ready.
Yeah, it's not a good. It's not anyway.
It's hard
Um,
being a caretaker, period.
Yeah,
It's
and
hard.
she's been it for her mom.
Yes. Now her
You
sister.
know, now her sister, and I think
And she
it's
did it on
different
your mother.
because
She did it for your father's side.
my
Yeah.
my great grandmother. She's always been a caregiver, not necessarily for me, but for everybody else. I'm just joking. I love my
Don't
mom.
you even try that. Don't you even try that. You know your
All
mother.
right,
Wait,
I'm gonna call her now.
Wait a minute. You still got that quarter?
The quarter. You gave me a quarter.
No, you remember your mom used to give y'all a quarter when y'all would go outside? Don't call her.
You guys are funny. All right, so we're gonna wrap it up because Tony is saying I gotta go use the bathroom.
Yeah, this time, Jeremy, that's for real.
Yeah, real.
I love you all. We got to do it again. Tony, if you can connect me with Lisa, that would be great.
Right.
Debbie, I'm thinking about George, even though you said he talked a lot. It should be an interesting conversation. I'll call you.
And
All right. Love you guys.
All right.
We're not that far from
Love
each
you.
Love you. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. And I appreciate everyone that listened to me and my crazy fun family. Have a good weekend and a happy Easter. Bye.
Bye.